welcome to Career Center. I'm Kimberly White, Executive Director of the Community Career Center, a resource center located in Naperville for people in career transition. If you are unemployed, underemployed, or seeking a career change, this show is for you. Career Center will bring human resource professionals and other experts together to provide job search tips to assist you as you search for your next success. Later on Career Center, I will be joined by Matt Rohr to discuss understanding and articulating your value proposition. But first, it is my pleasure to have career consultant Abby Kohut join me at the table. Not only is Abby a career consultant, she is also president of Absolutely Abby. Welcome.
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely Abby. So let's talk about that right off the bat.
Sure. Well, I've been a recruiter for 22 years, and along the way, I hired lots of people. I think probably about 10,000 people.
Wow.
Yeah, but what happens is, that's great, but a lot of the people that I reject call me up and say, how come I didn't get the job? And I haven't been able to tell them the absolute truth because the legal department tells me not to. So I decided I'm going to tell people the absolute truth for the rest of my career, and that's how I came up with Absolutely Abby.
Very cool. So you have a book, which we'll talk about a little bit later.
Sure.
But why did you decide to take the show on the road? Because I just now understood that you are actually traveling the road by RV doing this. So let's talk about that.
Yeah, so I don't live here in Chicago, but I love it here, Kim. I love it. But anyway,
it's nice in the summer.
I know, I love it here. It's a great city. And I used to come here for work purposes, but now I'm coming for other reasons. But I live in New Jersey.
Okay.
And I decided back in 2012 that I wasn't helping enough people. I was a speaker, an author, and a consultant, and I wanted to meet 1 million job seekers, and I couldn't find them all in New Jersey. So I decided it wasn't fair that only New Jersey people find out my secrets, because I tell lots of secrets. And I decided to take the show on the road. So I got myself an RV, and I started driving in 2012. And so I'm driving through Chicago.
Wow. So where are some places that you've been?
I've been to 34 states.
Okay.
And I've been to California 3 times, I've been to Chicago 3 times, I've been to Dallas 3 times, I've been to Florida 3 times. And it's 3.5 years, and I love every minute of it. I meet some great people, and I keep just coming back. I come back to the cities where I meet the most people.
Right. So you talked about you're wanting to meet 1 million job seekers. How many have you met so far? And I know you'll share some of the secrets here.
Yeah, of course I will.
Yes.
Well, I've met about 250,000, I think. It's hard to really keep track of the exact number. But I feel like it's about 250, yeah.
And your reasoning for wanting to do this, to take your show on the road and really touch all these job seekers, is because?
Well, because I wanted to tell them the absolute truth. I feel like what's happening is they're getting bad advice out there, and I'm trying to tell them what it's really like, because I am a recruiter that I help them. As a recruiter, I hired them for so many years, and I know what mistakes they were making, and I'm trying to teach them what to do next time.
Okay, so let's talk about some of the mistakes, and then we'll talk about some of the secrets. So what are some mistakes that you've seen?
Well, I think one of the biggest things during interviews is people don't know how to express their passion. People come across as desperate a lot of times, and they really, really need to be able to talk about why they want this job in this company, in this industry. And they have to be able to express it from the heart. I have to believe it. I have to believe that this is really the job that you want, because if you really want this job, you'll stay and you'll get promoted and you'll work late and everything will be very good.
Why do you think it's hard for people to express their passion?
I think they're afraid for some reason to tell me how they're really feeling. I think people are so nervous during the interview that they just don't want to be themselves. And I feel like if you just become yourself and tell us the truth, we want to know who we're really getting. If you have weaknesses, we want to know what they are so we can make sure that you're not going to fail on the job. So people are afraid to tell us their weaknesses, people are afraid to tell us their passions, and I just want to know, who are you? So I can decide if this is a good fit for you.
And it's so hard when you talk about that weakness question, because oftentimes people think, well, if I tell them my weakness, then they're not going to want to hire me. So how do you,
well, if you, let's say you want to be a receptionist, then your weakness should not be, I come to work late every day.
Right.
So That's the idea, is you should pick a weakness. It should be honest, but it shouldn't be something that's going to disqualify you from the job. So if you're a receptionist, give some other type of weakness, like I'm afraid to speak in public. Receptionists don't have to do that. So make that your weakness.
Right, right.
But give us a true weakness so we can believe that you're an honest person and you're willing to reveal that kind of stuff.
Right. And then when you talk about passion, your passion should be as it relates to the job.
Yeah,
right?
yeah, it should be, I love to do this marketing work, or I love to be in supply chain, or I love to be a project manager because I love to control projects. Like you have to come up with what is the reason. Why do you love what you do? And be able to express it to me so that I can feel that you really, really want this job. People that want the job get the job. Usually that's what happens. Yeah.
So do candidates still have to send in cover letters, or do?
Yeah, you know what's funny about this? Most people think recruiters don't read cover letters. Now, I was recently in front of an audience of HR professionals, and I said to them, do you really read cover letters? And they said, yes, we do, but we don't get a lot. They said that if they got 100 resumes, they would get 10 cover letters.
Really?
Yeah. So the thing is, if you send a cover letter, you're going to stand out easily.
Yeah.
But they also said if they don't see the name of their company in the cover letter, they're going to throw it out.
Yeah.
So you must customize your cover letter.
Yeah.
This is really, really important.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
You know, if they come to the Community Career Center, we talk about that. I very much so believe and agree that people need to have a cover letter.
Yeah.
And they do need to customize it, not only with the company, but, you know, that job title and how you can help.
Exactly.
Yeah, you
That's
have to,
it.
Yeah.
That's it. And yeah, that's great.
What are some of your favorite landing stories that you've heard?
Oh my goodness. Well, there's a lot. There's a woman who I met in Atlanta, and she came to me. She came to hear my presentation, and at the end of it, she came up to me. She was very overweight. She was probably about 300 pounds, maybe more. She comes up to me and she said, I'm not getting a job because of my weight. And I said, how do you know that? And she said, because when I walk in the room, people look at me and I know. And I said, okay, tell me about your background. So she gave me her story. And it turns out that there was nothing wrong with her background. So I agreed with her that it's probably true. And she said to me, my doctor tells me I'm the healthiest overweight person he has. And I said, this is what I want you to do. The next interview that you have, I want you to talk about your weight, because you know that's the elephant in the room. That's the thing that they don't want to talk to you about. They see it, and we got to talk about it. So I want you to tell them what your doctor said. And she did that, and she got the very next job.
Wow.
She was out for about 2 years, and she got the very next job.
Wow. Wow.
So yeah.
That's, okay. So some of the other things as we think about job seekers and what could be preventing them from landing a job, if they have a long gap in their employment, what are your ideas or suggestions for how do they address that?
I think everybody that has a gap should be volunteering, or should figure out how to take a certification class or a class of any kind, or maybe do some teaching. Do something to fill in the gap. Take care of kids. That's something to fill in the gap. You know, if you're a mom, you can certainly put that on your resume as a job, because motherhood is the most difficult job out there. You don't get paid for it, but it is. And so you can put that down there.
You don't get paid in dollars, that's for sure.
Yeah, I know. And so you can just call yourself Queen of the Universe if you want, and just make it funny. But just tell us what you were doing in that gap. That's all we care about. We don't want to make sure you're not just sitting on the couch at home watching TV.
Right.
We want to know that you're doing something.
Right.
Yeah.
And whether it's, you know, raising kids or
anything.
if you need to take time off to take care of a parent or something like that.
Anything.
You just need to address it in the
Address
resume.
it. Yeah. That's what I believe.
Right. So nowadays, in terms of dress, how should people dress when they go to work or go in for an interview?
I would recommend that you ask the person who coordinated the interview what the dress code is, and instead of saying what's the dress code, I would say, if I wear a suit, will I be overdressed? So that they know you were going to wear a suit. But some companies, you will be overdressed, and you won't get the interview if you wear a suit. So like in Silicon Valley, which I've been to, you can't wear a suit. If you wear a suit in Silicon Valley, you're not getting the job. So ask that, because some people like me, I've been a recruiter for all these years. I want you to wear a suit. I don't care what the dress code of the company is. I want you to wear a suit. So I would say, no, you're not going to be overdressed, no matter what company I'm working for.
Yeah, you have to really know who
Yeah.
it is. I remember chatting with a young man who was going for an interview at Target. And if you've ever been to Target, they wear red shirts and khaki pants. And so he walked into the interview with red shirt and khaki pants.
That is
probably
the
got the job.
funniest thing. You want to know something? I teach this to my job seekers. I teach them this. Not only that, I talk about Target and the red shirt, and I say, don't wear a red shirt if you're going to interview at Walmart.
Right.
You can't wear the you can't wear the enemy's colors.
Right. You have to wear blue. 'Cause
Yeah.
That's what they wear. Yeah.
So I teach that.
You have to
That's
really
so cool.
think those through. Those things through.
Yes.
What mistakes do people make during interviews?
Well, we talked about the passion thing, and then of course there's the interview questions, which many mistakes are made on interview questions. So
One
I'll give you one. So the tell me about yourself question is one of the most annoying questions, and that's because you don't know what on earth they want.
Right.
Do you want to know about my childhood? Do you want to know about my high school? What do you want? And you can't say, what do you want?
Right.
So what you can do is give them a little description of yourself, maybe like a couple of lines, and then ask them a question at the end. So I'll give it to you, mine. So I would say, I've been a corporate recruiter for 22 years. I've hired people from entry level all the way up to C-level in about 10 different industries. One of my greatest accomplishments was when I hired 900 teachers for Kaplan, the test prep company. Would you like to hear more about that? So you end in a question,
Right.
and then they get to decide, do they want to hear more about that? And if they don't, they'll tell you what they do want to hear. And if they do, then you get to talk about your greatest accomplishment right at the beginning of the interview.
Yeah, that's good.
You like that?
Good. Yeah, I do.
Share that at the
I will.
Career
I will
Community
share
Center.
that. I will definitely share that.
Yeah.
What else? What about that salary question when that comes up?
Well, this is usually coming up on phone screens. That's typically when people are asking me, they're saying that the trouble is on the phone screen. So what I would do is I would say, the salary that I'm looking for is between X and Y, and give a big range, and then say, does this fit within your budget? This way, they will have a conversation with you. If it doesn't, if you miss the mark, they'll tell you what your mark was, and then you can decide whether you still want to move forward.
You say a big range. How large of a range are
I
we
guess
talking about?
it depends on where you are. So if you're like a $50,000 person, then maybe I would say 40 to 60, so a $20,000 range. If you're a higher paid person, so like a 70, 80, 90, you can probably do a $30,000
range. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So how can job seekers reach you? And let's share a little bit about the book.
Sure. Well, I do have a book, and it's called Absolutely Abby's 101 Job Search Secrets.
Okay.
And you can find that on my website, which is absolutelyabby.com.
Okay.
But more importantly, if any listener would like to get a copy of my favorite cover letter, because we all hate writing them, don't we,
Yes,
Kim?
we do. We hate
I
them.
hate writing them.
Yes.
I decided I'd write a template for everybody to
Okay.
help them. So if you would like that cover letter template, you just have to write to me, and I have an email address for you. It's special.
Yep. It's going to actually be on the screen for our viewers.
Oh, good. Well, that's wonderful. So then I don't have to say it.
You don't
It's
have to say
there.
it.
So yeah, just everyone can write to me there, and I'll be happy to send you the cover letter.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Abby, we are out of time, but I want to thank you for coming on the show. You are a wealth of knowledge and great advice to our job seekers, so thank you so much.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you. Now, don't go away, because when we come back, Matt Rohr will be joining me at the table to talk about understanding and articulating your value proposition. We'll be back right after these important public service announcements.
So, I'm kind of new here, but I've noticed a trend. My human does this funny thing where she goes around and gets all my toys, and then she hides them in that basket by the door. But it's always the same basket, and it's always in the same place. And then she acts so surprised when I find them, but, she's putting them in the same basket. Again. It's like, hello? That's where you put it last time. You were the worst at hide and go seek.
Good things happen at the Forest Preserve District of DuPage County. Experience more than 25,000 acres where native plants and animals make their home. Discover the scenic beauty of over 60 forest preserves containing forests, prairies, and wetlands. Explore the wonder of changing seasons along 145 miles of trails. Get outside and discover the good things that happen when you visit DuPage Forest Preserves, the Forest Preserve District of DuPage County, where good things happen.
Welcome back to Career Center. I'm Kimberly White, and joining me at the table is retired Human Resources Executive and Job Search Consultant, Matt Rohr. Welcome, Matt. How are you?
Fine, thanks for having me.
Since you retired, I know you're doing a lot of great things in the community and working with folks who are in a job search. Let's talk about what you're doing at St. Thomas, St. Raphael.
Okay,
Yep.
well, I'm a volunteer at both those job ministries, St. Thomas the Apostle here in Naperville and St. Raphael also in Naperville. And we partner very much with each other and also with Community Career Center. You're a great resource, and we love sending people to you.
Yeah.
And we get some people from you from time to time.
Right.
But what I do at St. Thomas is I do what's called the Job Search Tune-Up. One of the difficulties in this process is for people to get feedback that's knowledgeable from HR professionals about their resume, handbill, how they're answering questions, and so on. And I do 30-minute one-on-ones with them where they send me their materials in advance, I review them, and I give them feedback on it and how to make it stronger, as effective, and also confirm what they're doing well.
Right.
Everyone's afraid that everything's gonna be negative. I said, no, this was a great way of saying this. You're right on point, keep that. And at St. Raphael, along with Steve Cecina and Steve Eschbach, I'm one of the facilitators, and we have speakers and discussions, and we work with people one-on-one. In addition, I do have some individual clients who pay me for my time as a consultant, and I have a different model. It's not an hourly rate, it's not a fee, it is a partnership agreement, and they pay me the bulk of it once and if they land. So I have to earn my money.
Right.
But I do that for a handful of people, and it's been interesting to do. I started doing this last year, and it's been fun.
Okay. And you are a retired HR executive? Yep.
Yes, I was at GM, GE, Aetna, and finally at CNA Insurance, where I was the head of HR for all their group and life companies until we sold them. And then I retired young and started doing things like this.
Yeah. So how many folks do you guys see over at St. Thomas and St. Raphael?
Well, it's changed over the years, but typical group that's showing up now at St. Thomas is about 30 to 40 people, and I do 8 appointments on the Friday morning sessions. And at St. Raphael, it's a little bit smaller. It's more like 20 to 25, so it's intimate. As more churches and groups have created ministries, those numbers have gone down because St. Thomas was one of the first to do it.
Absolutely,
and back in the day, we had as many as 800 people there.
Right.
And fortunately, it's not that busy.
Right.
And as the economy gets better, I hope to just be retired again.
Right. And St. Thomas meets on Fridays.
We meet the first 3 Fridays of the month from 9 to noon. And I start my sessions one-on-one. I go from 7:30 to noon.
Okay.
And at St. Raphael, we meet on the 4th Saturday of the month. So when St. Thomas doesn't have its Friday morning session,
That's when you all
we meet. And the 4th week of the month, St. Thomas has a Wednesday night speaker only type of session, no networking, and I don't do the one-on-one sessions.
Right. Okay, great. So I know you have this great thing that you do, and you talk about how to discover and present your value proposition. So I want to just dive right into that.
Yeah, the essence of job search is a communication process. The hiring manager is looking for people to solve their problem, and you need to articulate to him or her, I am the solution to your problem. And it's not simply telling them the information, it's convincing of them so they believe it. They go, yes, you are the person that can help me. And that begins by understanding yourself. And the difficulty for most people is we went into careers we were naturally well suited for and good at. So we didn't think about it that much. We didn't break it down into the details we need to help us articulate it during an interview process, because it's not something you do every day.
Right.
So one of the things that we've developed are some exercises and approaches to help people discover and break down in detail why they're good at what they do, so they can incorporate that into their answers, into their resumes, into their handbills, and so on. So people always say, what do I put in these documents? Well, your value proposition, what needs to go in there.
Right.
So for example, one of the simple ones and most effective is I ask people to get a blank sheet of paper out and write at the top of it a job-related attribute. I am good at building customer service relationships with major clients. Would be at the head. And then I ask them to sit back and brainstorm the reasons why they are good at it. And then to look at those things and break those down so that they get into a fine level of detail of what is effective. For example, they say, I'm a good listener. And I said, okay, convince me you're a good listener. Well, there's elements of good listening. I care about the person I'm listening to. I am knowledgeable on the topic we're talking about. I can listen to a nuclear physicist talk and not get much out of it.
Yeah.
If it's HR stuff, I'm okay. I listen carefully to what is said and take notes. I reflect back what I'm hearing for two reasons: to make sure I'm understanding correctly, but also to tell that person I am listening to you. So they're maybe giving me more information. I listen carefully what they don't say that maybe they should say, so it's a follow-up question. And then I summarize at the end. If someone told me that, I would believe they're a good listener. And many people naturally do all those things, but they don't think of it like that. So, and then I give them 4 things to guide their thinking. And these are the building blocks of high performance. One is you're born for the work. Some people are just naturally good at something. 2 is they chose, of all the things they might have done, something, they may have tried a few things on the way, but they picked something. Why did you stick with that? 3, did you get training in your area? College degree, certification, so on. And then 4, your actual experience doing it. So, for example, a skilled evaluator of talent told me, I want to hire somebody who's naturally at the work, who also decided to become deliberately good at it, to invest in their talent. So Michael Jordan was going to be a good athlete, because God blessed him with the talent. But he became the greatest basketball player ever because he chose basketball over baseball, and then dedicated himself to make himself great at that. Now, there might have been some other athletes that could have competed for him with greatness. It didn't work as hard as Michael did. So it's no accident that he developed his skill as a leader. All those things are deliberate. So when you can talk about your ability, that I'm naturally good at it, but I've invested in it, that's very attractive to a recruiter.
Absolutely, right. So you talk about the job search process, the fundamentals, which is kind of what we're...
And the key thing is you want to tell people what makes you special. Don't tell me what makes you the same. Every accountant is good at adding up numbers or closing the books. But the ones that are really good decision support people for the business leaders, that's a good attribute. And salesmen, for example, talk about revenue all the time. They should be talking about profit. Their job is to bring profit to the company, not just revenue. Because I can sell something that brings money in, but we lose money on it. That's bad. So to say those things that separate you from the other people, which is your goal, because they're only hiring one person, what makes you, among good people, even better? And so those are the things you're seeking.
That your value proposition.
Exactly. It's things where you can say, you can do more than the normal job. People that are willing to mentor other people in their field or manage them, that's an asset. People that bring something, that can work in 2 environments. As an HR person, I was good both in headquarters and in the field, and in particular, getting those 2 warring parties to talk to each other. That was attractive in some of the jobs that I was hired to do. I also had a lot of facilities background early in my career, which I don't want to put on my resume or talk about, but when companies were acquiring other businesses, you had to consolidate facilities, that was a big asset for me to have and help me get promoted or get a new job. So to highlight those things that aren't obvious about yourself is important, because you get more for your money when I hire you when you have those things.
So you talk about the fundamental attributes of an outstanding candidate.
And those are the 4. It is, you were born to do the work. You're naturally good at it. Some people are naturally good talkers. Some people are naturally good at math or other things. 2 is that you made a decision deliberately to choose that profession, because there's something about it that really attracted you to that. That's an attractive thing in a candidate, because you are committed to this profession. You're not doing it just because you can. It's because it's your passion. It's what drives you.
We hear that so much, the passion piece.
And passion is a great thing, but it's got to be married with ability. It's aptitude and attitude together that is powerful. I am passionate about baseball, but I'm not any good at it. So I'm a fan, not a player. But when you can combine those things, that brings leadership, whether it's leadership in a managerial role or just thought leadership in your function. To be an outstanding nurse. You're not going to run the hospital, but I lead other nurses in a great department. That's a value and is very something that every talent evaluator is looking for. And the other thing is, if you love your work, you're going to keep doing it.
Right.
Because I don't want to keep hiring people. I want you to come and solve my problems, Kimberly, and stay here for 20 years.
Right,
So I don't have to do this again.
So I know you do something about self-discovery. There's a self-discovery exercise.
Yeah, well, that is going through and saying, what do I do and why am I good at it? 2 is looking back at your old feedback, your old performance reviews, 360 survey results the company may have done on you, Myers-Briggs type indicators, and really think about yourself by getting out of yourself a little bit and saying, oh, everybody says I'm like this, and that's a good attribute. The other thing is to seek out colleagues, and this is something you guys talk about at the Community Career Center. Go send colleagues an email that you respected and say, why was I good at what I did? What did you appreciate most about me? What talents of mine do you remember best? And the beauty of it is that they write you back. So you get words that you get to keep and study. And if 8 people say something about you, like you were very good at solving complex problems, you were decisive on difficult issues, those are words you can use about yourself, because that's how people perceive you. Now, sometimes you may get some feedback about things to develop on. That's good too. But there's things we wouldn't say about ourselves, and this is a particular issue for particularly women who are overly humble. And they don't see themselves as leaders when everyone else does, because they are leaders. And sometimes they need to hear it from other people to own it. But that's great. So it is a bit of a journey, and you can't be afraid of it. And there are a lot of people that were taught by their mothers, or in my case, the nuns and my mother, to be humble. But you don't want to be falsely humble. If you've done it, you've earned it. I've had people say, well, you know, I'm just a regular person. Well, you have a master's degree from the University of Illinois, and you finished in the top 5% of your class, and you ran these great departments.
That's good.
That's special and valuable. And so people just need to be, and I always coach people, it's not about bragging or humility. It's about accurately assessing your abilities.
And again, you have to set yourself apart when you're putting yourself out there. When you talk about the honesty.
Oh, yes. This is one of the, when I started learning HR at the University of Michigan, and Ed Miller, who taught the class on talent acquisition and was the head of HR department, started that class by saying this. He goes, this is a difficult process because both sides are busy misrepresenting themselves to each other. I didn't say they're lying, but sometimes that happens. But you're both putting your best foot forward. And the point he was making to us is the company's not telling you about all their faults or sins. They're putting their best foot forward, and you get to too. So the idea is to have what you say should be true. But it doesn't have to always be complete. I provide them a list of here's all my abilities. I don't bring them the entire list of my faults. That's my wife's job, and she has a complete list for anybody who would like it.
Oh my goodness. Well, you know what, Matt? We are out of time. Can you believe it?
Yeah.
You have provided a lot of great takeaways to our viewing audience, so thank you so much. And
I will encourage anybody to go to the Community Career Center. It's an outstanding resource in this town, and you've done a great job leading it. So thank you for doing that.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
You're welcome.
I also want to thank Abby Kohut for joining me on this month's edition of Career Center. And to our television audience, remember, if you're unemployed, underemployed, or seeking a career change, visit the Community Career Center at 1815 Westdale Road, Suite 900 in Naperville, or search us on the web at www.communitycareercenter.org. Thanks so much for watching.